So think of this entire template here as your template for presenting your ideas. So you may have a topic, you may have developed research questions eventually, a thesis statement. Then you have to really focus on how to translate your ideas to academic writing and how do you present them in a way that's credible. This is your template for doing that. You have a topic sentence, you provide concrete detail or evidence, so some type of data point, a quotation, paraphrase of an actual source that helps to validate or substantiate the claim you're making within that paragraph and how it supports your thesis. Commentary, where you're making the connections and further explaining that evidence and how it supports your claim. Then providing more evidence to further validate the claim, more commentary or making the connections, and then wrapping everything up with a concluding sentence. If you do that for all of your paragraphs, then your writing will be consistent, congruent, and united. There will be cohesion between all the points you make. And you'll also notice that every paragraph will require you to provide at least one point of concrete detail or evidence. And in most instances, the minimum expectation is to provide 2 or 3 or even more per paragraph. So that's actual data points and evidence you are integrating. The implication of that means that you will be citing every 2 or 3 sentences throughout your entire paper. That's including the introduction and also including the conclusion. You are presenting concrete details and evidence to validate your claims. It's not your attitudes, it's not your personal opinions or what you believe. So the minimum expectation is that you are citing in-text citations and what we call attributions, or making citations at the beginnings of sentences throughout your entire paper, 2 to 3 sentences, every 2 to 3 sentences minimum. I'm going to jump over this slide. Let's talk about assistance. Of course, maintain frequent communication with me as your professor. In many graduate programs, there are not only comprehensive exams, which you have as a requirement here in the Madison program, but there are also sometimes thesis options or requirements where you have to follow this process and go through an entire thesis project. And in those types of situations and scenarios, there are oftentimes and there's a committee for your thesis. You have a chair of that committee who's a faculty member, usually your professor, who is your point of contact and guides you. And then you have 2 other committee members to help assess and grade your research. And so it's a very professional process. It's very strategic. Consider me to be your chair. So if you were in this situation, I would be your thesis committee. For your literature review, I would be the chair and also your professor. So keep contacting me, utilize office hours, email, make sure you're looking at my edits on your assignments. I'm going to be your primary source of help for this as we emulate this type of thesis environment. And I'm going to make sure you're on the right track. If you go astray, I'm going to let you know. But also remember that we have reference librarians, as I mentioned, that can help you locate or further narrow your topic if needed, as well as the Graduate Writing Center, who does have a dedicated faculty member, staff member to help with graduate students regarding these types of projects. So you not only have me, you also have the library, reference librarians, the Writing Center. There's also many different resources online, but our textbook is one of the most important elements and most important resources you can use. It has everything you need to know. I've thoroughly reviewed this textbook, and that's why I'm requiring you all to read it, and I'm requiring quizzes to ensure that you're understanding the concepts, because it so succinctly and easily describes the process and all the steps therein and how you understand and navigate research. And so your textbook is also a very good resource. And then just remember that even though this is an online program, all of these resources can be utilized. We can do all of this virtually. That's the reality of how most of this works these days. So just know that there are resources out there to help you from here. All right, I've almost talked in over an hour at this point, so I'm going to draw this to a close. I'm looking on the screen currently at the remainder of the module where you will review those videos that I've pointed out, and I want everybody to do that. Remember to disregard any assignments that are mentioned in those videos. They're taken from other classes, but I want you to look at the basic concepts. This will help you prepare for some rigorous research that is going to be coming later. Also, take a look at the sample literature reviews under modules at the bottom. There are 2. Take a look particularly at the language, how people are utilizing an academic tone and translating their ideas in a way that is very academic. It's very objective. There's no personal pronouns or anything like that. So take a look at those. And I want you all to start mimicking that type of language, but also mimicking how the citations and attributions are happening. So people are citing at the beginning of sentences, at the end of sentences. It's varied, and these are two really good samples of lit reviews that I want you to look at and start mimicking that type of style. Finally, review the critical analysis major course assignment instructions here. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more later. I'm going to publish another video later. Right now, I just want you to read the instructions. I want you to get an idea for the scope of what's going to be asked of you. This is one of two major assignments, 35% of your course grade. And it's going to be the halfway point to the lit review. We're getting your initial ideas on paper. We're doing this in a way that is consistent with APA format. We're going to be looking and assessing at your topic and how you've narrowed it and the sources you provide and how detailed that is within the scope of the project. And then we're also going to be looking at your writing. Has your academic tone improved? Are you using grammar correctly? Are you spelling things correctly? Are you utilizing more complex sentence structures? Are you writing completely the opposite of how you speak? Are you getting your thoughts organized prior to putting your thoughts on paper? Are you making sure your content is consistent and flows with transitions? Is there a thesis statement? All this stuff. It's your first major chance to submit a polished research project. It doesn't have to be extensive at this point, but it should have all of your major ideas included. So I want you to look at those major assignment instructions and look at the due date, because that due date's not that far off, and it's going to require you to start on all of this now so that it doesn't catch up to you at the last minute. You cannot procrastinate on this and earn a decent grade, I can assure you. So make sure you're taking advantage of this. Make sure you're taking advantage of modules like this one this week where you have extra time just to read, start researching, start utilizing the resources I pointed out now so it doesn't catch up with you later. Finally, your assignment is to submit a final topic, proposed topic for the critical analysis. I'm going to look at that topic and let you know whether or not it's specific enough. And if it's not, I'm going to provide feedback. However, do not submit a topic that is something similar to, quote, concussions in the NFL. Your topic needs to be similar in scope to the ones that I have provided here in the instructions and also in the assignment itself. So just know that that's due by Saturday. You have to submit a topic in order to submit the paper. So if you do not submit your proposed topic by this date, you will not be able to submit the paper, which means you've got a 0 on 35% of the grade. I don't want you all to be impacted by that. Make sure that you submit this. If you have any questions, let me know. What we're going to do in the future is we're going to start looking at your writing individually. I'm going to continue to give you the feedback you need to improve your writing on an individual basis. So that's going to be one task for you, is understanding the common trends and issues and errors in your writing so you can improve upon that. And then the other side of that is going to be your research process in itself, developing your topic, pulling sources, and then the culmination of all of these will result in the final literature review at the end of this class. And so after the class, you'll be able to be confident in your writing and in the academic papers you submit the rest of your program, but you're also going to have a final product that's going to help make your life easier when you take sport research MASM 535 in the future. I hope you all have a good weekend. If you haven't gotten your initial writing back from me, you will. Just bear with me. I'm going to get those to you throughout the weekend, and then we will continue. Take care. Let me know if you have any questions.